Here's really even more bullshit. Really smart people can see exactly what's going on. Because remember, Marion was off gallivanting in another country while I was going through living hell with my mom, okay? My mom informed me yesterday, or last time or whatever, I think it was yesterday or last time I was here a few days ago, last Friday, Marion took pictures of the house. Oh yeah, I think she told me yesterday. Mom told me that yesterday. I said, Mom, I took videos of this house, okay? And since I didn't do one damn thing to your house, Marion's pictures and my videos would match up. But you know that my mom's house looked atrocious, so Marion probably went on and on to the social worker about the house and whatnot. The social worker saw her, but she's probably thinking that I did more because she doesn't like me, remember? She's conveniently forgetting that I'm the one who pushed and pushed Cheryl while Cheryl was pushing and pushing her, pushing my mom's social worker. We have to go over there and check it out. And lo and behold, Laura was right, and my mom got sectioned, right? Not after I didn't experience more trauma with the same cops that blew me off last time coming here and then help your mom with her underwear, and then I'm never going to speak to you again, you know. But my mom and I, like over 20 years ago. My high school graduation in Florida. That sweet little girl used to get teased and beat up and nearly once raped, or at least, you know, molested or whatnot by the older boys in the neighborhood. I was like 10 or 11 there. My mom and I, when I was like 2. My mom and I about 20 years ago or so. My college graduation that my mom flew to come to. My mom and I like 20 years ago or so. And then of course me a few days after November 4th, 2008, when Donald nearly killed me and didn't care, pretty much laughed about it after he'd done it. So yes, if it came down to being in a court of law, which isn't going to happen because I have no money to get a lawyer, and fight Marion and her endless slander of me. Marion's pictures and my videos would match up. And there's even a way online, you know, you use Movie Maker, you can take a video and turn it into pictures, I believe. It doesn't matter. The videos and the pictures would match up because I didn't do anything to my mother's house, not one damn thing. I wouldn't do that to her, despite what Marion tries to convince everyone to the contrary. I love my mother. My mother did that to her own house. I stayed here and went through hell, as you guys know. Look at that video where I'm screaming about the damn winter storm and the governor declared a state of emergency and the social worker. And so I thought. It turned out my mom had the dates wrong. It was supposed to be the next day. But in any case, I thought they were supposed to come that day. And then I couldn't take it anymore. I hadn't slept and slept. I hadn't slept. That was the day I took the stove knobs away from her. As long as she doesn't have a stove, I don't have to worry about her burning the house down, and I can actually sleep after not sleeping a week, 48 hours, okay? To go through all that and have my aunt saying what she's doing now, and the social worker not even telling Marion the truth, or is basically she's an accomplice to Marion, she's perpetuating the lie. And probably because to her, the fact that Marion had to break in here and get a locksmith, the fact that I left all the notes, you know, she probably thinks I did do worse to my mom's house, but I didn't do a damn fucking thing to my mom's house. And one of the notes that Marion's conveniently forgetting about said, look, have fun cleaning up this shithole that my mother gradually, you know, created in my 8 days of hell. I said it in the note, you know. But my mom's social worker is not very bright. Sorry to say, she's not. I don't think she is. Cheryl is, but, you know, Cheryl gets it, and she's like, most people are black and white, Laura, and you're not, and they cannot deal with you. Marion could be a cold, stone-blooded killer, psycho killer, and they're going to listen to her because she's calm, and you get agitated and passionate and whatnot. Cheryl said it to me outright, okay? But I had to grab all that. When those 4 cops, that landlord had done what he'd done, I had stayed calm. They were waiting for the slightest hint, the slightest indication, and they thought I was going to lose it when, obviously, when I found out the landlord knew about YouTube. Oh my God, I almost shit in my pants. The cop came in, like, you should hear this woman going on and on about you on YouTube. I'm like, oh my fucking God, the landlord knows about YouTube. I almost lost it. I looked at the cop, I go, it's not illegal, you know. He's like, no, you're right, it's not, and actually you were very articulate. And I explained to him, yeah, and about the heat, and he's like, he agreed with me. I remember those cold, you know, so I chit-chatted with him, and I was cool and calm and collected, and they would never be able to drag me away because they'd have egg on their face, because they'd be in trouble. Because I would be just as calm with the people that they, you know, they would see that there was nothing wrong. They couldn't do that. But I shit in my pants when I found out the landlord knew about YouTube, and then I was still going to be staying there with he and his family next door and knowing all about me and watching my videos, and oh my God, hell. Oh, it's just hell. Trauma after trauma. I was terrified. I may as well have been in a kidnapping situation. I was terrified. Terrified at all times. Terrified to take a shower. Didn't know what he would do next. I couldn't leave Omar alone for a second, even to go to the store, nothing. I had to just keep it quiet, and I froze because it got colder and colder in the house. At one point it was like 56 degrees, but I didn't want to be downstairs making a shake or doing what anyway, and up in my room was a lot warmer. So I just dressed warmer. I wasn't gonna, you know, he's in a rage watching my videos, hating that I'm next door when I'm supposed to be gone. In his eyes, since Bobby was gone, I should be gone. I'm not the landlord's tenant. I'm a piece of shit trespasser, and you know, it was horrible. It's just, you can't imagine unless you go through it. But it wasn't more horrible than when Omar and I were living on the streets for those 7 days of hell, you know, in LA, you know. So I've been through worse. It's just all this stuff's happening in a short amount of time between November 4th, 2008, when Donald nearly killed me, didn't care, and this was the end result, you know. Oh, I showed that woman. The picture of me and Donald, the one I showed you in the other video. Missing that picture, but I showed her that. I said, this is what I looked like when I moved in with the piece of shit bastard, abusive bastard, and this is what I looked like at the end of my first relationship with him, you know. And then I went on to say, you know, needless to say, I might want to seriously, really, really, really fuck a guy again, you know, experience that again. But I ain't itching in any manner whatsoever to let any guy into my heart. Just ain't gonna happen, baby. Ain't gonna happen. Sex, sure, hopefully, someday, again. But in my heart, trust a guy? No. No. Ain't happening. I mean, I went from, this was a few years before I met Donald, but that picture I showed her, now I'm missing it. I don't know, but anyway, I went from that, looking like that when I met Donald in 2001, to looking like that, looking like that. Looking like that. Look at that giant bruise. That covered my whole fucking... I should have been dead or worse. He shoved me. I went flying backwards down. I didn't roll. I flew backwards to the pavement down at the bottom where we were up high, and I flew. I guess our heads are hard. Oh, what happened was, it's not that our heads are so hard, it's that I used my elbows and stuff instinctively. Apparently, I did black out. But I used my elbows and stuff to stop myself from just smashing my head so bad that I would have had brain damage or something, or been big bloody pool of blood or something, been dead probably. I instinctively put my elbows out. I knew I was going down that hill. I thought I was going to die, and that's how I did it. I still smashed my head because I couldn't control that, but I smashed it not just going flying loop and smashing it straight on. The elbow stopped me instinctively, and then my head went smashing back, and I blacked out, and then I woke up with a huge lump in the back of my head. To two strangers. We saw what happened. They saw the whole thing. There were witnesses. We saw what happened. Oh, Donald would have been in jail. Donald would have been in jail. That's what blows my mind about his stupid, ignorant mother. I didn't put her son in jail like I could have done. I don't want to ruin his life. He nearly left. He left you for dead. Didn't care. You don't want to ruin his life, Laura. But we saw what happened. There were witnesses. Donald would have been in jail with witnesses to what he had done to me. He would have been in jail. Jail. And then a few months later in the summer, because I'm, quote, acting a little weird because I'm believing Chad Kroeger's in love with me, Hope calls the cops on me. I didn't put your son in jail, Hope. I could have done that, ruined his life. He would have been in jail, and we had witnesses. And you're going to call the cops on me just because I'm talking to Chad Kroeger outside the townhome? Not screaming, not yelling, not, just talking to Chad Kroeger outside, in my head. But you know what I mean? And she called the cops on me. She tried to get me taken away. She told them about my mother. She told them about my messy room upstairs. She said I have a history and blah, 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 whatever. She tried to get them to take me away because she's so paranoid, even when I was with her son, even when I was her friend or whatnot, that the neighbors are going to hear you talking too loud because I was, when I was happy or excited. But I was talking to Chad Kroeger outside the townhome outside. Is that, quote, crazy behavior? Yes. But I used to walk everywhere, and people would be down the bus stops talking to themselves or talking to the air or going blah, 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 you know what I mean? And they were out on the street, and they weren't. She was just a bitch. It's like she never cared, never respected the fact that I could have put her son in jail. I could have put him in jail. I had witnesses. I woke up to two strangers, men. We saw the whole thing. We saw what he did to you. Let us call the cops. No, I don't want to ruin his life. And then his mother, when I called her, told her what had happened, and that witnesses were telling me to call the cops on him. I'll ship you back where you came from, But then she was all nice to me. She didn't offer to come get me. I had to take an hour and a half with those bruises, and I had the big lump on the back of my head, and I was just... And that's trauma. Why do you think later I was approved recently, and it went all the way back? I wasn't approved. That's why I got $17,000, because that was trauma I went through. And then Hope's acting like, well, you were both drunk and these things happened. And she was all nice once I got home, but she didn't offer to come get me. She didn't like to drive in the dark, but still, an hour and a half to get home. And I was telling all the strangers, look at these bruises on me. What my 7-year-old boyfriend shoved me backwards down the hill. I woke up to strangers. Big, giant fucking lump on the back of my head. And later, when he got home that night, I said, I could have called the cops and you go ahead, do it, Didn't care, no remorse. He's a sociopath, a psychopath, I'm sure. I know it now. His mom doesn't want to admit it. Who knows how come he turned that to that? Who knows what she did to him? Just because she seems all nice, it's all an act. I told you she touts herself as being this devout Christian, but she would talk about all her friends and all her family. I know all the dirt on them. I know her sister's husband. Her sister used to be beautiful. She got fat. Her husband cheats on her left and right. I know that Hope thinks her friend is the cheapest guy on the planet, and she's like, yeah, he thinks we're gonna have a relationship. I briefly was with him. I would never be with him. He's so fucking cheap. She talks about everybody and anybody. Everybody and anybody. Okay? Even the ones she supposedly likes so much. Talks about them all. And touts herself as being this wonderful person. I could have put her fucking son in prison. I don't know how long he would have gone to prison, because it wasn't intentional. I don't know what the deal is that he just shoved me. I mean, I would never say he did it on purpose. He didn't. He was drunk. He shoved me away from him, and but you can't shove anyone. The moment you put your hands on someone, because they could get hurt, he shoved me really hard, And then a few months later, she's just going to conveniently forget about that and try to have the cops take me away because I'm talking to Chad Kroeger in the front of the townhome. It's not like I was screaming and yelling. I wasn't even talking to him really loud. But she heard me. You know what I mean? It's an embarrassment to her is what it was. Oh, and I was sitting outside in my coat. All these weird things. But I stayed calm then, talked to the cops. Yeah, I'm an artist, I'm a writer. Look at the poem I've been writing. And I showed it to them. I have my coat on. Why do you have it? I have my coat on outside with shorts or whatnot because it's cold. I don't know why. You know what I mean? It's weird behavior, but it's not lock me up behavior. You know, I've never been sectioned in my life. My mom's been sectioned numerous times. Hope tried to have it. It just didn't work. But the fact she did it to me just makes her a lowlife. I could have put her son in prison. You know? Sure, I was going nuts and telling them that Jack Kruger was in love with me, and I thought I was talking to him. I thought he had omniscient powers. He could talk in my head. Well, that's all crazy shit. But I wasn't threatening them. I wasn't pounding on neighbors' doors or doing any kind of crazy shit whatsoever. You know, it was all in my own fantasy world. And I certainly, I mean, the cops didn't take me away. Talked calmly to them, showed them my poem, my song, poem, whatever. And that was that. They left. But she tried. She mentioned all this stuff of my weird behavior. The room's a mess. She's out here with a coat. She's out here. She's talking to herself. And they didn't care. Because odd behavior doesn't get you sectioned. You have to present yourself as being a threat to others or yourself. And I've never had that, you know. I've been lucky in that respect. But just the fact she would do that. And then you're wondering how I wound up there again, because she goes back and forth, and when I'm desperate, and my family fucked me over, I had nowhere to turn. I had nowhere to turn. And she came through for me when my family blew me off. When I was living on the streets those 6 weeks, I was sick. I needed cough medicine, had no money. Hope Western Union me $25. I had called my cousin of the dead aunt, begging her, left a message. You think she ever Western Union? I gave her the information how you can do this. I can get it. You know, if you just, you know, and having it be in my name and whatnot. No, she never cared. She never did shit for me. To her, I'm just scum. She couldn't write a poem to save her life, let alone the kind of brilliant poetry that I shared with you guys in the other video. Remember, I write songs too, not that anyone cares. Because I don't sing. Had I been blessed with a beautiful voice and this kind of talent for writing, I would have been famous a long time ago. Especially with my looks. But whatever. In the end, Hope's the only she cared about me, and she thought with Marion that she treated you worse than a dog, you know. And in the end, she let me go on welfare and stay instead of going into a shelter. And you know, but then at the very end, what happened? She hated me again, and it was all over Omar. She didn't like being me, you know, telling her what to do when it came to my dog, and that was that. And in the end, she watched Donald choke me in March of 12, and she didn't care, and you know. And earlier, because she couldn't believe that I was saying the things I was saying to her, and it all had to do with Omar, nothing but Omar. Hope, I went to you have to understand, the dogs are just like us when it comes to their teeth, Hope. You know, they get the same kind of disease and all that. And she's like, have you been drinking? She's like, I won't hesitate to call the cops on you. She couldn't believe it, and I wasn't drinking, but hadn't drank a drop, and I'm the one who wound up calling the cops on him, but they had left. I filed a police report, nobody knew, and then I stayed there that night. I wasn't going to leave Omar. I had never originally intended to keep Omar for good, though. It's just in the end I couldn't give him up. I had just planned to, they were never going to take him to the vets. Never. I wanted to make sure before I gave him up forever my baby was okay. So I took him to the vets. I believe I'd made an appointment. That's the thing, and I wasn't going to miss that appointment. Because obviously I didn't just show up there. I think I'd made an appointment to take him to the vets and have a complete physical and whatnot. It cost me like $260. I lost all my money. I didn't have much money. I was on welfare. I'm just getting GR money. And then I just couldn't take him back. So I went to the police station with him, thinking they had filed a report. No, they didn't even have me on record. Of course, I didn't have my papers with me. How could I have? I grabbed Omar and ran. I wasn't packing to take stuff, you know what I mean? I was dressed in little top and little shorts, and then it got cold that night, and you already know this story, but the police didn't have me on record. They just thought I was lying. I wasn't. I'm like, I'm not some scum off the street. I filed a police report against domestic violence. They hadn't filed it yet. It wasn't even on record. It takes time. The police had told me it would be on record, and it wasn't. They told me it would be filed instantly, blah, blah, blah. They had wanted me to come with them that night. I'm like, no, I'm not leaving my dog. They thought that was crazy. Yeah, I don't care. My dog's my kid. Don't have any kids. Omar's my kid. The end. Bye-bye.